Welcome to Quicksand, the most important news in pharma and biotech this week. A Florida-based stem cell clinic and a network of about 100 clinics in California are facing litigation brought on by the FDA to cease the marketing of their products. The agency filed 2 complaints in federal court for permanent injunctions against U.S. Stem Cell Clinic, which failed to address GMP violations revealed in an August 2017 warning letter, and the California Stem Cell Treatment Center and Cell Surgical Network Corporation, as they have yet to obtain FDA approval for the stem cell and biological products they have been administering to U.S. patients for years. GMP violations at U.S. Stem Cell Clinic that FDA investigators found during inspections in April and May 2017 are associated with at least 256 lots of stem cell products, according to the agency. Parkinson's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, heart disease, and pulmonary fibrosis are among the health conditions for which patients sought treatment at the U.S. Stem Cell Clinic. In August 2017, FDA also moved to seize 5 vials of a smallpox vaccine from StemImmune that was not available on the U.S. market, but was being administered to patients at the California Stem Cell Treatment Center facilities in Rancho Mirage and Beverly Hills. GMP violations had been cited at these facilities as well, including FDA's example for U.S. Stem Cell Clinic. It was confirmed during site inspections that the vaccine was being used to create a stem cell product, also derived from body fat and unapproved by FDA, that had been administered intravenously to cancer patients. The experimental treatment was also used on patients with arthritis, stroke, multiple sclerosis, macular degeneration, and diabetes, among other conditions. The enforcement actions are part of a new FDA framework for regenerative medicine, including adult stem cells, on development and oversight that was set forth in a collection of 4 guidance documents last November in response to provisions in the 21st Century Cures Act of 2016. An FDA advisory committee voted 12-8 to recommend the approval of Akcea Therapeutics' volanesorsen, an RNAi drug for rare lipid disorder familial chylomicronemia syndrome, or FCS. The panel vote is not binding, but the FDA tends to follow committee recommendations, especially for rare diseases. FCS is caused by a genetic mutation that causes deficient triglyceride processing and, in some patients, leads to potentially life-threatening pancreatitis. It tends to show up in childhood or adolescence, but is typically diagnosed late because it is so rare. There are no FDA-approved therapies for the disorder, with a restrictive low-fat diet being the go-to treatment. Volanesorsen is an antisense oligonucleotide that inhibits apolipoprotein C3, a protein made in the liver that regulates triglyceride metabolism. Akcea is seeking approval for the drug as an adjunct to diet in patients with FCS. It followed the NDA in August with a dosing schedule of 300 milligrams per week delivered subcutaneously for 3 months, after which the dose will be adjusted according to body weight and platelet count. But in January, after the NDA review was well underway, the applicant unexpectedly submitted an amendment that proposed a new dosing and platelet monitoring strategy for labeling that had not been implemented in any of the clinical trials, the FDA said. The FDA is expected to make a decision by August 30th. The Pharmaceutical Inspection Cooperation Scheme, or PIC/S, announced that it has adopted new guidance on good manufacturing practice inspections, outlining a process for desktop assessment of overseas facilities to identify instances when an acceptable level of GMP compliance can be confirmed and assured without on-site inspections. Based on a draft from the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities, PIC/S said the guidance provides a tool and framework aiming to help competent authorities prioritize resources for GMP inspections for human and veterinary medicines. The adoption by PIC/S of this new guidance highlights efforts undertaken by the group to improve sharing of inspection information between authorities, which for 2018, PIC/S said contains more than 900 scheduled inspections. The group notes that 2 chapters in the guide have been revised to include requirements to prevent cross-contamination. A change in the qualification of suppliers has also been introduced by another revised chapter. PIC/S said the revised GMP guide will enter into force on July 1st, 2018, and will be published on the group's website before it is issued. With 2 years of experience under its belt with the Priority Medicines or PRIME scheme, the European Medicines Agency offered its perspective in a new report on a program designed to offer additional support for biopharma sponsors developing products with promising preliminary clinical evidence and the potential to significantly address an unmet medical need. Of the 177 requests for eligibility to PRIME received and assessed since the scheme's launch in March 2016, EMA says it has granted eligibility to 36 programs, 30 of which are for rare diseases and 19 of which are in oncology or hematology. Advanced therapy medicines also made up 40% of products granted eligibility. By comparison, many of the drugs granted eligibility in PRIME have also received breakthrough or orphan designation from the US FDA. And for at least one medicine granted PRIME eligibility, Novartis' Kymriah, FDA is one step ahead of EMA and already approved the treatment last August. EMA reported that both the number of requests and the rate eligible granted indicator have remained fairly constant and matched forecasts. With an average of 8 requests received per month, EMA also said the quality of applications received is good, and most eligibility requests received are at the proof of concept stage supported by exploratory data. Any sponsor engaged in the exploratory clinical trial phase of development can submit a request to enter the PRIME scheme based on the availability of preliminary clinical evidence in patients indicating the promising activity of the medicinal product and its potential to significantly address an unmet medical need. With an approaching deadline of January 1st, 2019, Health Canada is requesting industry input in establishing mandatory requirements for submitting drug master files using the Electronic Common Technical Document format. Use of the eCTD format is intended to facilitate DMF submissions to the regulatory authority's Common Electronic Submission Gateway. Health Canada believes transitioning to an electronic-only submission process will lead to more consistency. Following the 2013 Cooperative Research and Development Agreement between Health Canada and the US FDA, the gateway became a mandatory mechanism as of January 1st, 2017, for all regulatory transactions under 10 gigabyte in size using the eCTD format. As part of the CRADA, Health Canada and FDA modified their previously developed gateways for electronic submissions about 4 years ago so that drug and biological products applications can be submitted to both countries using the same technology. The modifications were aimed at reducing the costs associated with meeting different technical requirements imposed by the two regulators. As Health Canada continues to move towards a common submission intake process and stay aligned with other leading regulatory authorities, eCTD format will progressively become the mandatory format for the majority of dossiers and regulatory activities filed to Health Canada, the agency wrote in opening the consultation on the mandatory requirements outlined in the notice. The decision follows on the heels of FDA final guidance released last month, in which the deadline for drug makers to implement eCTD requirements was extended for an additional year through May 5th, 2019 for Type 3 DMFs. Thank you for listening to Quicksand, episode 30, May 14th, 2018.